many people throughout my journey as a teacher have been, I would say, a bit delusional or a bit confused with what language learning is. Anything higher than B1, B2 is just like a lot of extra native, cultural, administrative, public sector, work-related topics. But yeah, B2 is somewhere where you get to something like fluency. If you learn the language casually, you cannot really get higher than B1 at any point in your life, especially if you're not surrounded by natives or people who speak Romanian at a decent level. You need to spend time. I know this is probably not what you want to hear, but you need to spend time. Ow! To get to think differently. The voice inside your head should be in that language. So today we're gonna have a slightly different video because I have a couple of things to say. And the place we are here today is one of my favorite places in Bucharest, actually, and that is the Vacaresti Delta. I know it doesn't look like much now, but you'll see in a second how awesome this place is, and this will host us for our little chat today. As I said, this is one of my favorite places here in Bucharest. I had a moment where I filmed a few years ago a documentary down here. I was talking about the urban green spaces and mental health. If you want to see it, you can see the link in the description. And now to the talk, really. Probably we should go the other way. I don't remember much about this place, but I think I know roughly. Oh, it says interzis. And me, as a good Romanian, I respect those signs. So this place is really in the middle of Bucharest, and it's been during the communist times like a place to throw away a lot of things. I don't remember exactly what, but to throw, it's like not really a dump, but I think it was for like building materials and stuff like that. And then it wasn't used for like 20 years or something, completely abandoned. And that's how it developed into a delta, into an urban delta in the middle of Bucharest. So if you come here, please visit, because it's really worth it. And since Bucharest is such a busy and loud place, that's a really, really nice getaway. Highly recommend. So yeah, we'll enjoy this place while I have a chat about one thing that really occurred to me back in 2020 when I was recording a podcast with my good friend Ludas. You can find the link to that in the description. It's called The Age of Humans. If you haven't checked it already, please do. In the first episode of that podcast, we explored something called the linguistic relativity, which is really the point of many things I do right now. Motivation behind many things I do right now. That linguistic theory we explored with a very, very big linguist, actually, Guillaume Thierry. Says something about the way we think and how that is connected to speaking a language, which I find fascinating. And as I said, it has to do a lot with the work I do here at the Romanian Academy. Now, what exactly I want to say is that many people throughout my journey as a teacher have been, I would say, a bit delusional or a bit confused with what language learning is. And I think there are a few reasons for that, but I think one big reason for that is the fact that many people who start learning Romanian, which is, I just got very confused by this, by the way. So it's allowed to walk, but not to ride a bike, which is very interesting. This is a very pretty depiction full of graffiti of this place. I don't know really where we are, as you see. Very confusing. Doesn't have a, I think we're somewhere here. Anyway, so those people have been quite delusional, as I said, about the reasons for learning Romanian, in the sense that they don't really understand where they have to get to. What that means is that since they don't really have the experience of learning a language, right, or very little with other languages in school, not in real life, which is a big difference, they come to me, right, and they say, okay, I want to learn Romanian. But what does that even mean? And they say sometimes, oh, I want to speak Romanian with my partner's family. I want to be able to speak Romanian with my friends. I just want to use it for work because I work with Romanians, right? Like, you know, in English, right? You know already, or in Spanish, or whatever language, first language you speak. It's quite straightforward in many ways. What, for example, speaking about your childhood means, or speaking about politics, or whatever other, that was a huge bug. Whatever other topics you want to talk about, seems quite clear, right? I want to talk about politics, but what does that really involve? And you know, you leave that to your tutor or to the material you're learning, and they come to me and yeah, it's fine, let's go, let's study. That's what I do, right? And I love it. And it's okay to leave the responsibility to someone else, but you know, you should have really an idea. And many times you hear the idea of fluency, right? And fluency is something that I really don't enjoy talking about fluency, but I think it really helps to make a point here. Because if you aim to fluency, right, in my experience, fluency is really being able to think in that language. And that could be an ultimate goal. I think, in my opinion, really, fluency is reached around B2 level. You can find, obviously, these criteria of B1, A2, and so on the internet, but also in our course that we released a little while ago. It's very new, it's very fresh, and you can find some nice Udemy discounts if you go on the link in the description. And I do explain a lot about that, about what these levels mean and how you should really calculate your steps towards your language goals using these steps, because they are very, very helpful. Look at this place, by the way. Gorgeous. And you get access to something like this next to those huge residential blocks. Anyways, so yeah, you find an idea of what fluency is, and as I said, in my opinion, somewhere around B2. It's a place where you get to speak without really thinking too much. You just automatically can talk with natives. Anything higher than B1, B2 is just like a lot of extra native, cultural, administrative, public sector, work-related topics. But yeah, B2 is somewhere where you get to something like fluency. And what I think happens in B2 is you get to, as I said, put yourself mentally in a place of talking to natives without really thinking too much, getting cultural references without really finding yourself as an outsider, because we all know these moments when you're sitting around the table or whatnot, and you know a bit of Romanian, but you cannot really express yourself. And that sucks, you know? But that's where in B2, you're able to do it. And that's when you're thinking, yeah, coming back to where we started, your thinking plays a huge role. Because thinking in Romanian involves being able to be surrounded by these people, by these natives, and talking your way out and finding whatever information you really want. And to get there, you have to go through a few steps, right? You have to get to know Romanian language, Romanian culture, Romanian vocabulary, grammar, ask yourself questions, get as much information as possible, but do it regularly, because learning a language can be a casual thing if you aim for a really, let's say, B1 level, I think. And I don't think if you learn the language casually, you cannot really get higher than B1 at any point in your life, especially if you're not surrounded by natives or people who speak Romanian at a decent level. So like less than a K now that way should find like the hotspot to see the real beauty of this place. So far it's been just a lot of bushes and paths, but trust me, you're in for a treat today. When you are new to that language, you cannot, or to a new language, completely new language, you've never studied the language before, it's something normal, you don't really know where you go. And that's why, again, you can go and check out our foundations course on Udemy. And this is what I'm trying to do here in the Romanian Academy, to help you get yourself in the way of thinking in Romanian. And that involves colloquial Romanian, because people speak differently than they write, and so on and so forth. And to get there, to the way we think and we speak in a colloquial way, you need to get first the basics, and only after that, study colloquial. Now, what colloquial means is putting into value all these resources that you have, like vocabulary and grammar and stuff, and see how it's used in real life Romanian, like TV shows, like podcasts, all these really cool things that are available for you really just on the internet. Because when you do so, you internalize all that information. Your brain starts to work to make a lot of connections, patterns, identify the patterns, find these pathways between how you think and how a Romanian thinks. And you start asking even more advanced questions like, why do they say it like this? How do I say it in my native language? Do I think in the same way? What do I need to think or to do to get there? And it's not easy. By the way, we're going into the bushy areas. We're getting closer to the swamps. Can hear the birds. Yeah. So coming back to put all of this into perspective, you're trying to learn a language, you're trying to get fluent, let's say. You want to get into the way a Romanian thinks. And you do that by practicing and making a lot of connections. To do that, you need to spend time. I know this is probably not what you want to hear, but you need to spend time. Ow! That was a very thorny plant. You need to spend time, guys. This is the ugly truth that many people don't really think about when they start learning a language. They actually need to spend time to learn, because you need to practice a lot of things. You need to repeat all these tedious grammatical forms, all these verbal conjugations, the pronouns, substantive, the noun endings, the plurals. You do need to practice them repeatedly. And when you do that, And when you also combine that to new words and new phrases and new stuff, you get yourself in the perfect place to study Romanian. And there are tools to do that, to help you with new words like flashcards and so on. I say that nowadays to everybody. Use flashcards, use Anki. It's really useful. I have tested it. It does work. It really helps. But also get to understand these language frameworks. It's very easy to not do that. But on different levels, like A1, A2, B1, B2, the reading, for example, is different. The techniques you need to use for reading, for listening, for writing are different. The more advanced you get, the more kind of difficult they get. The more complex they get. The nice sounds of Vacaresti. Is this a willow tree? I don't even know, guys. This is where Harry Potter and Ron and his car got destroyed by a willow tree. Is this the tree that does that? Tree enthusiasts. So yeah, connections. A lot of connections. That's the key. Using the right systems, the right frameworks, getting yourself accustomed to that specific way of thinking for that specific language, in this case for Romanian. This is what we try to do here in the Romanian Academy. You have a lot of resources to do that nowadays on YouTube. We have cultural, we have colloquial, we have grammar videos. Nowadays, even get these kind of videos. If you're interested in getting more, like today I really covered just the surface, but if you're interested in like talking about like specific things about thinking in Romanian, please let me know in the comments. You have Patreon with a lot of practice. You can practice vocabulary, you can practice listening, you can practice speaking. We have classes, we have reading materials, and a really nice community on Discord. How could I forget? And this is a way to thank all the patrons that support this channel. You have a special mention in the description as well. Without you, this really wouldn't be possible. And yeah, join us. You have, as I said, many ways to contact us, to join us in different shapes and forms. Just liking this video or subscribing to the channel is, I don't know, the first step you can do. If you want to see more, obviously you can do. But keep that in mind, guys. You should really start to understand this, that to get to speak a language, you should understand that you should need to change your way of thinking. And by thinking, I mean, maybe this wasn't obvious for some of you, but to get to think differently, the voice inside your head should be in that language. And if you don't have the practice, this is what I did for Spanish many times. With English it was a bit easier, but with Spanish I needed a lot of time to just force myself to think in that language. Like whatever thoughts I had, I forced myself to speak inside my head that inner voice in Spanish. And I suggest you do the same. That's like a little practice that you can do. It really helps. I cannot say how much it helps, because it really does. And without that, you'll be very slow and you'll be very disappointed, and you'll need a lot of time. And one last thing that I think comes together with the idea of thinking in a different language is, you know, to assess yourself. And this is a very important thing that's also covered in the course. I think I'm filming against the light now, which is not great. So evaluate yourself, and that's the really final step to become your own teacher. You should really try to do that if you want to become better at studying a language. You cannot leave all the responsibility on your tutor, for example. And I will probably leave you with some really nice videos from this beautiful place. So until the next one, la revedere.